Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery, the best Cincinnati brewery you will find out there. They are doing some amazing work over there in Columbia, Tusculum, East End area of Cincinnati. It is a really great spot, brewing some of the best beer you will find in the region. And speaking of Streetside, on October 19th, Decision Day, we are hosting another live show. Yes, we are going back to Streetside. We are hosting another live show October 19th. We will be there from 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock, and then the FC Cincinnati game will be going at 6 o'clock. That is Decision Day. Come on out. It's going to be a blast. We've got some special guests lined up. There's going to be games. There's going to be prizes to give away. It's going to be a ton of fun. So please come on out to Streetside October 19th. You are going to have a blast. And maybe the best part about Streetside, if you go there and mention the postcast, mention this podcast, they will knock $1 off of each beer you buy there. That's right. You get a couple bucks off of your bar tab just for admitting in public that you listen to the postcast. It's not a bad deal. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode, and thank you for coming on out to that live show October 19th. It's going to be a ton of fun. And on today's episode, I promise you, I'm not going to lie to you, we actually talk about FC Cincinnati in this one. If you listen to the last episode, you know we didn't. Hopefully you thought that was funny. Hopefully that didn't make anybody too mad out there. In this one, though, we needed some time, some distance between that Orlando loss and what we talk about today. Basically, this episode is broken up into two parts. Part one is FC Cincinnati news, FC Cincinnati thoughts, ideas, speculation, a wide range of topics related to the team. And then in part two, it's your questions answered. Very impressed with the quality of question coming in to the podcast. Keep it up, everybody. Absolutely love it. So yeah, enjoy this lovely episode of the Postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I've got
promise this time.
For real? We'll see how far we get this time.
The award-winning soccer content presented by the award-winning Postcast, perhaps.
I crack up at the idea that was somebody's first listen to the award-winning FC Cincinnati podcast, and they got everything
I crack up at the idea that any episode is somebody's first time listening to it, because we don't. It's. I don't know. Like I don't know what like what your takeaway would be. You're like, oh, this is like, let's go learn about FC Cincinnati.
Right. Well, what if that first person that listened for the first time last week is now grossly disappointed that we're actually going to talk about soccer in this episode? Like, oh, I was really looking forward to just hearing more rambling and incoherent nonsense jumping from topic to topic about Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's a what was the one from, I think it was from the Enquirer. I could be totally misstating. Around Cincinnati, or That's So Cincinnati. Like, yeah. We kind of just stole their whole thing.
Yeah, so. we're gonna be an award-winning podcast in a different field. We're submitting that episode for your consideration.
City Beat's gonna love us out of nowhere.
It was really funny too. While we were recording that, Grayson just put in the chat, let's just not mention the game at all, and we just both went with it. And I think that, you know, I enjoyed that recap better because I didn't have to think about that game.
It was probably better for everybody, but especially us. You know, just put some distance between us and the game.
You know where we did Jimbo a little bit on this was that we really should have included a trigger warning that there was going to be Bengals talk, because in terms of my NFL fandom, when Tampa Bay loses, I avoid all NFL media for at least 36 to 48 hours. If I see ESPN on at the gym, I look the other direction because I don't want to see even a minute that reminds me of what happened. And finally, I can get back to football once some time has passed. We went and we kind of just we smacked some people across the face with some Bengals talk who might have been looking to similarly detox themselves after the end of that game.
Well, not our lane, so not my concern.
Look, we don't warrant that any topic will not be touched on this show. Okay.
Yes.
If there's anything that, if you've listened before, I'm sorry, but if there's anything that if you've listened before, you should realize is you might hear anything.
Yes.
You might even hear some soccer content.
You might. Not guaranteed.
But you might not also, as we learned. So if anybody did skip the last episode because you were you are the type of person to avoid media about your team after a big loss, we recorded 2 hours and briefly mentioned MLS in I think about one sentence and did not mention the game at all. So it's a safe space, and it probably will be relevant for another couple of weeks. So you're good.
In much the same vein as I always think of the best lines for a closing argument, like 2 days afterward, I thought of the best way to end that episode would have been, Kevin, let's go over the lineup, and then immediately cut right after that.
I had thought about if we had just done a straight one as well, that just like after we talk for like a minute or two, just fading it out and then just picking back up with whatever bullshit we would have been on, just slowly fading out anytime the game got brought back up.
I like to go fuck yourself Boulder.
And Park City, if I recall.
Right, and Park City and the entire states of Colorado and Utah and everyone inside of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Take no prisoners here.
Anyone who happens to be there at any given time.
If you're visiting.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. Is there anyone on this podcast that visits Colorado and Utah on a regular basis to engage in recreational activities, perhaps?
Certainly nobody from the Sundance organizing committee or bid committee from Cincinnati has ever been to Utah, Colorado. I do think that Utah is going to get over it because I did see this today. This is not a headline. This is actually real. That beer sales during the Utah Hockey Club's inaugural game last night totaled $120,000, the most sold for an NBA or NHL contest held at the Delta Center. The Jazz have played in that building since 1991.
How much?
Wow.
What's a typical what's a typical beer sales at like a hockey game at like Nationwide or
Cyclones do 60,000 a night. So,
but they're all $1 though. So, well, I mean, the sneaky thing too is that I'm 95% sure that in Utah there's a max ABV they can serve you in a draft beer. I think it's 5%.
Yes.
So really and truly, it doesn't apply to cans. If you get a can from behind the bar, you can get a higher ABV, I think. But at the stadium, it wouldn't shock me if everything is low ABV beer.
So I think that's right. I mean, I went to a brewery in Utah, and what the guy told me was that like everything was 5% because above 5% they classify as like a malt liquor, and you have to like sell it to the state, and the state takes it to like a centralized distribution center and then
pours it down a drain or something
to you.
Right.
So that tracks that it would have to be like in a can or something if it's higher.
There were some great breweries when I was in Salt Lake. It was just that like the best IPA you're going to drink is also like, it's going to take 5 of these to get me where I want to be. Isn't
La Winta or Winta Brewing in Utah?
I think so.
Yeah.
There was one that was really good that had edible glitter on the inside of it for Pride Month. It was a very, very good beer.
Man, all glitter is edible if you try. If you're in the right mood, right setting.
There's a lot of things
that glitter's edible. I don't know how it got there.
Will it kill you? No, it's edible. We're good.
Look, I was talking to a reporter. I said, I'm not going to talk to you in the locker room. Talk to me over here.
It was like I got into this debate with my father one time, and he was like, "Oh, it's organic produce." Like, all produce is organic. Like, if it's inorganic, it will kill you when you eat it.
I've learned a new term in the wine world: practicing organic.
Oh,
is that like a practicing Catholic versus like a lapsed Catholic?
I mean, it sounds like you're working on it, right? Like we're working on being organic, but I think that what it is there's like you could be like biodynamic, but you have to be like certified by some scam thing.
Yeah, but USDA.
If you follow the stuff but don't want to be certified, you're practicing organic.
I have an idea.
Inter Miami CF is like practicing roster compliant.
Right. What if we got together and decided that, there needs to be something that designates that you are being a soccer supporter the right way, that your group is doing things the right way, that like
we're practicing supporting.
We're practicing. This is a practicing supporters group, and we go in and we evaluate. We embed ourselves with the group and with the organization for a week or so.
Okay.
We go to a game with them. We see what they do on game day. And then afterwards, once they pay us for our time and pay us for our consulting, we issue a report and a certification that they are practicing soccer supporters. They are proper supporters that are thus worthy of your time and attention.
So here's my pledge to you. Okay. People are going to hear that and they'll be like, oh no, I don't need that. And what I'm telling you is, if you are running a supporters group, especially if your supporters group of a team other than FC Cincinnati,
yes,
frankly, mostly this podcast is for you.
Yes.
Whatever number you have in your head, if you're like, oh, they're probably going to charge me like this much, it's such a scam, we're going to charge you less than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the report that is written, it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
You have no idea. It's going to be so good.
Right. It will be
so good.
It will make it as such that whenever you want to take a stand on any issue in the future, you can point to this report and say, look, we do things the exact right way. And when people look at you and say, oh, you're gatekeeping, or, oh, you're just anti your front office, it's no. We are supporting the proper way, and we have the documentation to prove it from the people who know this industry best.
Listen,
yes.
FC Cincinnati won 2 wooden spoons in 3 years. Okay.
Yes.
It also finished a nominal last place in an intermediate year between those 2 wooden spoons. Okay. You would think the organization was in a terrible position, but they hired a consulting firm to look at the organization top down. And you know what the consulting firm said? Nobody that hired them was at fault. Nobody was responsible for hiring them was at fault for any of the stuff. And they had good foundation.
Wow.
Right.
Look.
And I'm going to tell you, like, that's the kind of experience that we have.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of, if you want to find out if you're good at running your supporters group, hire us and we'll tell you are.
Yeah.
Like Inter Miami. You bring up Inter Miami. They have accusations, many accusations, plastic fans, fans that are only there for Messi, fans that aren't going to be there in 2 to 3 years when he leaves. You hire us, we'll come down, spend some time in Florida after the weather situation clears up, obviously. Don't want to be going down there when the weather's bad. I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to enjoy the nice weather in Florida.
Yes.
And we will issue.
We want to see you at your best.
Yeah. You'll see at your best. We're going to issue the best report about what incredible fans and what real passionate fans they have in Miami. And what has happened down there whatever the roster situation is, whatever illegal tricks that the club is pulling, the fans are doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And we will present you a report that says that for a fee.
Because look, you have really good fans, right? It's just other people don't believe you. So what you need is an unbiased consultant to go down there and figure out how to convince the rest of the league of what you already know to be true.
And look, you might have a situation like Cincinnati. You got a couple different competing supporters groups. You got DI, you got the Pride, you got Brigade, the Mafia, the Fifth Line, all these various groups in here. You got the, who am I forgetting? The Vanguard. You got all these various groups. Maybe
the
one
Bridge,
group.
RIP,
the Bridge. RIP the Den, the Firm.
The Suden Ludens.
Oh, Norden. How can I forget Norden, of course?
Vanguard, RIP.
RIP. Wait. What?
Just kidding.
Did we just kill them off? That was Jonah's bit. Like, we're going to kill a supporters group off every week. But maybe you're in a situation like that in your club, and there's a lot of different competing groups that maybe don't get along as well as the ones we have here. And you want to show everyone you're doing things the right way, and that you are the group that everyone should be listening to. For a fee, we will write a report telling everyone else in glowing terms that, yes, those other people, they're doing things the wrong way. You, my friend, you are doing things the right way.
And it's not like you're not paying us to tell people you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
You're paying us for our time because we don't do emotional labor for free. Really, really, frankly, as a favor to you.
Yeah.
Right.
I just really want to get in on the consulting grift so badly.
If it's free, there's no, you have no way of knowing that it's quality.
Right. We sign this podcast off every episode this year. Go fuck yourself, San Diego. You know what better way to stop us from saying that? Hire us to tell you that you're doing a great job out there, San Diego. Yeah. We can be bought.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, we can't be bought.
We can be hired.
Well, we can be hired.
We can
be hired to listen, right?
And write a report.
Yeah.
It's I can't think of a better way to acquire an impartial judge than to hire one.
Right. We're award-winning, goddammit.
That's the entire rationale behind commercial arbitration.
Yep.
Behind like the libertarian idea behind a proper judicial system, which is you have
on the flag.
Is you have private judicial tribunals
you subscribe
that people
to a
subscribe
court.
To, and that's how you find out it's the best.
Yeah,
is whoever has the most money picks it.
I mean, obviously,
it's America. Goddammit.
That's money is speech. That's the most speech toward it. It's the most votes.
The post consulting.
I mean, it sounds
hire us
already.
to tell you. Hire us to tell you.
Oh my God!
We report. You decide what.
We report. We decide.
The final word in everything. Folks, we're starting a grift.
Let's do it. Why not? It couldn't be worse. Well,
it's not a grift, it's a hustle.
Right.
Potato.
So it's actually
your boy might need a hustle here coming up shortly. So
oh no.
Everyone needs a hustle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We live in precarious times.
Some more precarious than others.
Well, look, I hate to do this to us, but we should probably talk about FC Cincinnati.
Why? Nobody wants us to do that.
Now, hang on. Do you
think FC Cincinnati wants us to do that?
I know FC Cincinnati does not.
No, FC Cincinnati wants us to talk about FC Cincinnati, which is why they sent these very important topics for us to consider. Fellas, how excited are you to buy extra playoff tickets on sale now? And if you buy them now, I think you can avoid the fees by going to the box office. Boy, that's great. Fan appreciation. Don't you feel appreciated? And it's never too early to start talking about season ticket renewals for that all-important 2026 season. It's going to be here before you know it.
It's never too early. You cannot buy too often.
Buy early, buy often.
And you think the club doesn't want us talking about all the amazing things the club is doing right now, not on the field of play.
Well, so the ticket deals, by the way, are just never good deals.
I got so screwed over.
Yeah.
Buying extra playoff tickets last year. I was like, oh, well, I got family members that want to go, so I'll get these tickets. And then it was like, I couldn't even like use my tickets for a couple of the games. And then I had to try to sell some, and I took a bath. Took a bath on them. But it's going to be different this year.
Yeah.
The run starts now.
It's I'm sure that they've appropriately calibrated the prices.
Of course.
To match expectations.
My favorite thing this year was, as somebody on the Orange and Blue Reserve, which is the paid wait list that does not carry over to next year. So if I want to wait on the wait list again, I'll have to re-up for another $200. This was before one of the Champions League games. I got a pre-window. I could buy some tickets. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I want to get some tickets before it goes on sale to Joe Public. And when they went on sale the next day, they were significantly cheaper than what I had paid for.
Oh, dear.
So that was cool. I never participated in that one again. So, oh, well. In slightly better news, I'm going to go out of order to make sure it is positive news here. Kevin Kelsey makes it to the MLS 22 under 22 list. I was telling Grayson before we hit record, Chief, this cracked me up because I did not see a single MLS national pundit put Kevin Kelsey on their list.
And I think I saw one of those LA guys like Max Brados.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. But, yeah. Okay. So one, and not only does he make the list, but he makes the
best 11,
the best 11 of the 22 under 22.
Well, he's like the only striker.
Not a good sign.
The only striker under 22 in the entirety of MLS.
Well, on the 22 under 22.
That's worth getting hyped about.
That's worth talking. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a couple of other strikers in the league, allegedly. They don't play for FC Cincinnati, but allegedly they're out there.
Well, the problem is like the people who are most prominent in like the MLS media, who I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to mention people like by name.
No,
because they're potentially going to come on the podcast or have been on the podcast. But like they very clearly view it as part of their job to favor like homegrown players, American players, etc.
Right.
Because these same people are releasing their best 11s, and you're seeing players like Jackson Reagan in the best 11, and who is like a fine like MLS center back, right? But if you can only pick 2 or 3 across the entire league for your best 11, not in your team.
This just goes back to your point that I think that like I don't think a lot of the people that comment on MLS watch a lot of MLS.
See, and the problem is I think they do. I think they just also know what their job is.
Right.
Consult.
It's kind of the same consult thing. On which players are most beneficial for the league to promote as like top players.
But it's also just like a point that we've made in the past, but just like the league is too big for you to be a national consumer of all of the games. Not to mention the TV schedule makes it nearly impossible for you to catch up on every game by the time you're expected to be commenting on it. Like there isn't a Thursday night game, a Monday night game, the Sunday night game, the 4 o'clock window, the 1 o'clock window. Like The NFL, sure, a lot of games, similar number of games even every week, but it is spaced out in such a way that it is much easier to consume quickly, and just the nature of the sport's a little different.
Well, you have like 5 windows to watch games in the NFL.
Right.
And it's like much easier to like look at discrete plays.
Yes.
Right. Like
it's way easier to find a 30-minute or even a 20-minute like condensed version of the game.
Yep.
It's just the plays. It's very easy to see that.
Yeah. But in soccer, which we talk about this all the time, like people that do these like clipping of showing like how, you know, tactically a team scored a goal or, you know, exploited some space or whatever. It's always incomplete.
Yeah.
Because they make a choice about when to start it. Right. So like it starts at like a pass in the midfield. Right. So you miss like the striker pressing the center back into playing a long ball and giving it away. And, the center back winning the ball and like finding the midfielder, right? Or like who made a run to pull defenders away, like right before they started the clip. Like, it's just very hard. I think it's very hard in soccer to clip out like useful tactical things beyond like, you know, Lucho made a really good move right here.
Right.
Right.
Here's another nutmeg.
Right. Or this is an incredible pass, you know, between these 3 defenders to find Kubo on this run.
Right.
Like you're missing a whole bunch of good things that happened right before whenever you started to play.
So in that same vein, one of my all-time favorite like soccer commentator isms is it especially is true on TV, but you'll see it with some of the clips that get passed around, is the look at how they maintain a triangle, and they'll make a triangle with 3 players, and then like the play goes and they're like, wow, look at the triangle that they maintained. But like sort of the nature of triangles is that if you have any 3 points and connect them with lines, it is always a triangle. It doesn't really matter where
there's a lot of accounts online that find the Illuminati in things by just making triangles that appear out of nowhere.
That's my favorite.
I think it might have been Andrew Wiedemann who we had on and talked about the time that like Koch played a clip to like make Corbin Bone or somebody look bad. And Koch had like literally moved the ball.
Yes, he edited the ball
to like a different spot than where it was to show like how Corbin was out of place. And like honestly, like like that's a shitty thing to do, but it's not that much different than what most like soccer tactical media does, because like if you if you pull like a random clip and you say like, oh, this guy's out of position here.
Right.
Well, maybe you missed the fact that like he was previously like had advanced the ball and had found a midfielder who made a very stupid pass backwards.
Right.
Right. And like he looks out of position if you start it here, but he's not out of position. Like if you look at the entire context of like all of the play,
or even the coconut tree that they fall out of, right?
Yeah, right. Like no soccer play falls out of the coconut tree. It all exists in the context of what came before it.
Pulling back a little bit, though, I don't even know where to go from that. What do we make of the fact that FC Cincinnati has Kevin Kelsey, best 11 under 22? And he is not starting every match.
Well, it's not necessarily inconsistent.
Yeah. Well, on one hand,
because you have like really good strikers.
Right.
Well, about that.
It sort of implies there's a senior striker ahead of him.
Or you could have Nicholas Gioacchini, who I put this out on the old Bird app today. Stats since joining FC Cincinnati.
I'm not pleased that you did this, by the way.
Okay, well, I'm not pleased. I do a lot of things, but the content game waits for no man. 7 games played, 413 minutes.
All right.
0 goals, 0 assists, 0 shots on target. Or I'm sorry, 1 shot on target. There we are.
Thank you.
God, I've made that mistake twice today. It's almost like I have an agenda or something.
I mean, 1 shot on target is almost worse than 0.
For comparison, I give you the numbers of another FC Cincinnati striker.
Okay.
So with Gioacchini, he has 6 matches started.
Okay.
7 matches total. This FC Cincinnati player had 7 games started, played 695 minutes. He came off the bench a couple times, scored 1 goal, had 6 shots on target. That player, Fernando Adi.
Oh, Fernando.
So
right now,
Fire was his 1 goal.
Yeah. Yes, it was Chicago Fire. It was a breakaway goal, if I remember correctly.
Adi also, let's not erase Adi's assist. No, wait.
No, his goal against Louisville City in the Open Cup?
Did he get the assist against Atlanta to Roland Lamar?
He had no assists that season.
That was safe.
It was safe.
Yeah.
I think Adi made the run to free up Roland Lamar.
Sure. We'll give him half an assist.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And just because I know everyone was curious about this, I looked this up as well.
Yeah, please.
Another famous FC Cincinnati striker in his final season with the Orange and Blue. 9 games played, only 2 starts, 362 minutes, 1 goal, 5 shots on target.
Brenner.
That would be Jurgen Locadia in 2021.
Snap.
I found the banner art for this episode.
One new message here. Oh, wow.
Boy, that kit was awful.
I own that kit. Hey.
Yeah.
It was $5 on Adidas's website.
Well, at that price, the hell with it.
That's how I have all my kits.
I know this is an audio medium, but if you go back to the article on FC Cincinnati's website, match in Atlanta ends in 1-1 draw. The banner photo is Fernando Adi and Miles Robinson contending for a ball.
It's 2 ships passing in the night.
Well, actually, there's no ball in the picture.
We have to assume there's
Adi
a ball.
is looking at something, and Miles is got his leg up high in the air for some reason.
But
it honestly looks like they photoshopped these 2 people together, that they weren't in the same play.
It does, because it doesn't look like they're going for the same thing by any means.
Miles would have been what, like 17?
I think, yeah, something like that. No, like 19, 20.
Okay. Just the bigger point is that just this, again, Kevin Kelsey, accolades around the league, and we're starting a guy ahead of him in many instances that at this point, you would have to say statistically in the running for the worst even part of a season an FC Cincinnati striker has ever had.
So we talk a lot about they obviously know more about the team than we do.
Yeah.
And that remains true. But it cuts both ways. Like, they know who's good on the team better than we do. They also know whether the team is good enough to like justify adding players in the summer window better than we do.
Yeah.
And if the season is shot better than we do. And I have thoughts about what may have motivated certain decisions in the summer, like evaluating, who had season-ending injuries, who was injured at the time, whether there was any realistic possibility of maintaining the point in the standings, and yada, yada, yada. But I got to say, like, when your external messaging is, we are in the middle of a championship window. We have ambition. You're talking all summer about like all the big names you're talking to, and you're pushing out a propaganda article about like all the players you were trying to sign. And then you have the rest of the season, and then the message coming out of the window is that you strengthened your championship squad. And what was the MLS article, the MLS.com article out of it was like, it was like crazy. And you had,
they were definitely like that. It was all like the part of this though is that you're not gonna get a player or a person in the front office that says, well, we kind of bid it at the window and we got this bum in and maybe he'll amount to something. Like they're always going to hype up their guys they bring in, and they're always going to want to say that, oh, this is a great piece, or that we feel great about where the club is, because they're trying to sell tickets, and you don't want to lose a locker room by saying, we boofed this one.
So the article on MLS.com was like, summer transfers boost championship window. You had like Bogert like saying in his article that they added 2 key starters in Awaziem and Joaquini. The first sentence of the MLS article is FC Cincinnati aren't letting their supporter shield defense or championship window slip away. That was the central theme of General Manager Chris Albright's post-secondary transfer window press conference on Tuesday. So you go, this is the message you put out after all the talk about all the ambition you have all throughout the window, right?
Yeah.
And then you've had the results you had before the window, and you have the results that you've had since the window. And like, there's only 2 possibilities, right? I mean, tell me I'm wrong. There's only 2 possibilities. Either you wildly misevaluated the quality of the players that you had, which raises some questions, or you just misspoke about the quality of players that you had.
Everyone always hypes their guys. I don't, if the honest truth on this window and where it is that Giacchini was available. He doesn't need a work visa to come back to the United States. He was available on a loan, which matters because if you ain't going to get your guy, you at the very least want to make sure that you're getting someone that can help right now, that doesn't have a long-term ramification or a long-term issue in the future.
Yeah.
And then, everything else is extra on top of that too.
Right. I do think though, it's not as clear cut as Grayson laid it out there. So if Grayson will allow me, I have a third option here, and that's maybe the worst one. This is the uncomfortable one. Okay, so Matt Miazga goes down June 15th against San Jose, right? He is hurt 64th minute. There are 3 more goals that happen in that game, all 3 of them scored by Yuya Kubo to win 4-2. So the team came back to win that game. They were down 2-1. So if you'll allow me, they get the win after Matt Miazga goes down in San Jose. That's on the road. They beat Philadelphia 4-3. They lose a weird one to New England. That was a weird one. New England completely rotated their squad. Things were weird. They then go on to beat Dallas in Dallas, beat DC United in DC, and then topped it all off with beating Inter Miami 6-1. They finished that stretch off with losing 3 matches in a row. Sure, not great, weird, suboptimal. of those games, the Chicago game at home, they lose 1-0. Maybe you chalk that one up to a bad defense, or a key defender being there changes things. Charlotte, they lose 3-1, and Red Bull, they lose 3-1. I don't think, given those results, and keep in mind, a bunch of guys were hurt and suspended for Red Bulls, including one, Pat Noonan. I think there's enough there, especially on the back of a 6-1 beat down of Inter Miami, that you don't think, okay, with Miazga's injury, this team is lifeless. Because that wasn't the results up to that point. Granted, 3-game losing streak, first time in Pat Noonan's history, not great. But the rest of those results also happened without Matt Miazga, including the come from behind win in the game he got hurt. So I'm not convinced that this is a key injuries sank the season narrative. I also, and apparently I'm alone in this based on some of the conversations in the Discord, believe that Cheeto is a pretty close approximate of Matt Miazga given what was available. And I am way more in hype for him than I guess everybody else. I think he does a lot of the same things that Miazga does. So I don't even think you miss anything there, which to me suggests this is a coaching issue. This is an inability to maintain motivation, maintain focus, maintain squad cohesion. Are these guys getting along behind the scenes? Is the training session, giving these guys what they need? Are they adequately preparing for opponents? Like, this was a team that was very good and all of a sudden starts sucking. I don't know how else to describe that. Like, unless you're going to say that Cheeto and Gioacchini are so bad that they've actually made the team worse by arriving, because the team was okay in long stretches before they arrived and after Miazga got hurt.
But
I don't know how else to.
But the team was terrible
for those 3 games.
Those 3 games before the window.
Absolutely. They then come back with 3 wins in a row in Leagues Cup.
The one in New York, they had to have some magic against some rotated rotated New York City team.
Wins are wins, baby. Losses are losses too.
That's fine, but they were bad against NYCFC.
Sure.
And
if only we could be so bad to win 4-2 for the rest of the season.
They were down 2-0.
They were down 2-1 against San Jose, the literal wooden spoon winners.
I'm not happy about that either.
They won that one, though, is my point. They are capable of doing things.
The 4-3 against Philly at home is not a good result. Philly's not going to make the playoffs.
It was 4-2, if it makes you feel better.
Philly was 4-3.
Philly was 4-3. That was one where Lucho scored in like the 94th minute.
Like, this is my city.
That one. I thought you meant in Leagues Cup.
It's like, it is your city. You're celebrating over beating a terrible team at home.
It was pretty electric, though, for being honest.
It was an awesome game. I loved it.
It was awesome. It might be the highlight of the year, unfortunately.
Wait, Grayson, just a real quick point. If we lose to Philadelphia on decision day, there's a chance we can get them into the playoffs. Do we do it for narrative reasons?
So we should do that for my betting reasons, because I had a bet before the season that certain teams would finish top 9 in the East, and I thought it was easy money.
That's a lock.
Philly thought differently. like
DC and Montreal.
My 4 teams that I bet to finish top 9 in the East were us, Columbus, Orlando, and Philly.
Oh,
seems like easy money.
So this is your situation right now. DC and Montreal both at 40 points. I think you have Toronto, Philly, Atlanta at 37. It's going to require some magic.
Yep.
They
are the only team, though, with a positive goal differential of that group of teams I just mentioned.
And then, we had also in there, we had the Querétaro game, which wasn't like impressive by any means. And the Atletico San Luis game, which also was not impressive by any means. We're lucky to survive that.
Sure. It was Santos, though. Santos
Laguna. Whatever. Whatever.
How dare you, first off? We're a Leagues Cup podcast.
We are a Leagues Cup podcast.
And then the Philly game in
just
Leagues
got
Cup
hammered.
was awful.
Yeah, they got hammered in that game.
Not ideal.
Awful. And that game has been like exemplary of how the rest of the season has been. Like you have like a couple of like outlier results, right? Like a 0-0 against Columbus where you don't generate anything.
Right.
Like you don't generate anything positive in that game. And you finish 0-0. Not the kind of game like a 0-0 in a vacuum seems fine against Columbus, but a 0-0 where you are the negative team is
hanging on for dear life.
Is not something where Columbus misses multiple big chances.
Yeah.
Is not a game that you want to have, that you want to see when you are thinking of yourself as a championship contender, which by the way, if you what's the truth serum drug?
Sodium pentothal, something.
Yeah, if you give that to Chris Albright and you ask him like, is this team a championship contender? I'd be curious if you gave him that in like June, if he would have said yes.
Mm.
And
so what is it that like what changed between like to Kevin's point? What changed between June and where we are right now, other than the fact that Miazga got hurt and they replaced him with Cheeto theoretically? That Kevin and I think all of us, we all really like Cheeto. I think we all really think he's a good player. He's not MLS Defender of the Year. No one is. By definition, that's just Matt Miazga.
I want to think Cheeto's a good player, but I can't forget that he was on the field during that Philadelphia debacle. And I can't forget that he's made some like kind of major errors. He makes good plays, but he also seems to be more mistake prone.
Miazga literally passed the ball into the back of his own net in a game.
Yeah, one. Right. So there's one.
Right.
Well, okay. I will stand our man forever. But we can't look past Miazga's inability to not get cards and the boneheaded mistakes that he has made sort of not in his run of play that have cost this team, dare I say, an MLS Cup.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That Matt Miazga. I'll say it. Matt Miazga cost this team an MLS Cup.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. I don't believe at the rate we're going right now, Cheeto will even have the opportunity to cost us an MLS Cup via pizza delivery.
Right. Like
I would love if he costs us an MLS Cup via pizza delivery because it will mean we actually made
MLS Cup by not being as good.
Right. Just that would mean we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals again, which is significantly farther than I have this team going right now.
To be clear, I don't think Cheeto being not as good as Matt Miazga is a good enough excuse to blame this team not winning a cup on, just based on everything we've seen so far.
The goal different, the goals given up without Miazga is striking.
It is not great.
Which is like weird that like, I'm not going to touch this. Let's talk about something else.
Are we forgetting Haglund here? We've referred to him as a load-bearing piece as well. It's like you have to like sort of, what is it? The old Sherlock Holmes, when you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Like you run out of reasons at a certain point before you get to Nick Haglund not being around and not being available as a option or as someone that's in training or as someone that's doing something for this team. The other thought that I had, and I think we kicked it around a little bit in the group chat or on the Discord, there's a couple guys in this team that are going to set minutes records for their career. One of them being Luca Orishano, who Luca's electric. Luca is a weapon when he takes a free kick or when he has the ball at his feet. Luca has progressively become a defensive liability on this team. And it's not hard to see that he is being targeted routinely in these games, and the side of the field he's playing on is being targeted. And I think right now, looking at things, Luka's about a couple hundred minutes north of the most he's ever played in his career.
Isn't it like 1,000 minutes north of where he's been?
It's heavy. Pavel Buka has logged an incredible amount of minutes.
Pavel Buka leads the team in minutes. He's played the most minutes that he's ever played in any season. And he also logs the most distance traveled. Like, I don't know where to like find this stat, but it seems like every time they show it on TV, Buka is the most distance traveled for FC Cincinnati. Right. And so like you got the guy who's played like 3 games in minutes more than anybody else on the team, also runs the most every game, and you don't have a sub for him.
Yeah, no, there's nothing.
Like, there's no obvious replacement.
Like you didn't just like you went through the whole summer transfer window and you thought we don't want to have anybody to sub into the midfield for any possible reason.
Also on the minutes watch, Yu Kubo has played more minutes this year than he has played since coming to America by a significant stretch. The other players on the team, Nwobodo has played a ton of minutes since joining FC Cincinnati. And his play, if you look at his tackle rate and his interception rate and his passing rate, they have all dropped since the first year that he started with FC Cincinnati. He's also 3 years older than he was when he signed here. They have ridden a lot of players. Pat Noonan specifically has ridden a lot of players hard. And when it comes to when we're looking at like what's different about this team, you wonder, and I don't know how you would track this. I don't even know how you would see this, but I know how it would probably show up. How it would probably show up is you're a step late every so often, that you are just a half beat slower in reacting to things because of fatigue, because of wear, because of, nagging little injuries, nagging little bits of soreness. And at a level that they play at in MLS, that's enough to be the difference between winning a ball and losing a ball. That's the difference between passing correctly back to the keeper and short arming or short legging a pass and leading to a goal. That's the difference between hitting a crisp pass and maybe something that just doesn't have enough on it, or that maybe cues off the wrong part of your foot and goes a little awry. Yeah. I think that in this season, as we sort of look and see where we are, and I understand, and it's been brought up by a lot of people online, we're in third place. Okay, this team is in third place, but the only reason your place matters is in the shield race. And if you're not first, you're last when it comes to that. But as you stands right here in the standings, is this the third best team in the Eastern Conference right now? The answer is no. There is absolutely no chance you would look at this team and say that this team is the third best team. They may be in third place based on what they have done over the course of the year. But as this team stands right now, the accumulation of injuries, I would say fatigue, wear, and the lack of getting better at the transfer window in specific key areas or finding depth at the transfer window in specific key areas makes it so that this is probably 7th, 8th, somewhere in the middle in that pack of teams that are just sort of vying to be into the playoffs right now is where they're at, I think.
When you tell me that this team is third in the East, it feels like you're lying to me. I'm sorry. I can't hear that and not think this person thinks I'm stupid. They have fewer points since June than Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
We've talked about how important it is you want to be the best. If you're not trying to win the Shield, you want to be the best team going to the playoffs. And they did the opposite of that.
True.
They're the worst team going into the playoffs. And, that doesn't mean that they're going to be that team in November,
the
playoffs. But don't tell me this team is third in the don't like justify how the team is by saying they're in third place. You don't get a trophy for third place, and they were bad going into the transfer window. They didn't get better, not in any meaningful way.
No.
It doesn't look like Teenage Hadebe is going to fix the defense. And the problem going into the window was you weren't getting any, positive offensive contributions from like any of your strikers. And you didn't fix that issue. You got another Corey Baird.
A worse Corey Baird.
Yeah, Corey Baird scored a goal recently.
Yeah. If you are having a good time this season, I'm happy for you. If you're happy with how they've done, I'm glad you're having a good time. But I put up with 3 last place seasons because I believe this team had ambitions. And I went through the summer and it feels like you're looking at like the Reds and the Bengals and how they both looked like they had very positive futures at a period of time.
Yeah.
And made choices not to capitalize on those opportunities. And you look at the summer and you're like, it's hard not to see parallels.
But here's the problem with that line of thinking for me is that I look at the summer window and okay, let's look at the targets they were looking at. Weston McKennie, Bertarame, and Josh Sargent. Those were the 3 big names that we heard that we were told ad nauseum was like evidence of this team showing ambition.
But it was like one of those guys.
It was to be one of those guys.
It was spending a lot of money on one of those guys.
So, yeah. So pick any one of those 3, whichever one would be your favorite person of those 3 to put on FC Cincinnati.
Okay. Weston McKennie will be my pick.
We'll say Weston McKennie. Having Weston McKennie on the team doesn't change the fact that Orishano's run out of gas on this team. It doesn't change the fact that, you've got Pavel Buka, who is going to set a minutes record for himself, or Obi's going to set a minutes record for himself. He can help a little, but it's not like it's going to fix the fact that for a second straight year, that this team, we said it last year, this team went into the playoffs and it ran its starters ragged and it ran out of gas against Columbus. And when they needed a bench, they didn't have a bench. And here we find ourselves again. It's a team that has run its starters ragged because it doesn't have a bench. And one player, I mean, I'll buy the idea that maybe if you have a Bertarame or you have a Josh Sargent, it changes the way this team is defended. It opens more space for Lucho, that there's a cascade effect on all that. But you still don't have a bench. This team still doesn't have a bench.
So a couple of things on that. One is like $25 $25 million on Weston McKennie, plus whatever his salary is, on a player who has a history of like needing to be motivated, of needing to be on the verge of like getting cut to like earn, like you can't deny the guy's talent.
Right.
But like, do you think like handing this guy $15 million a year and like a guaranteed starter spot is the best way to maximize his abilities? I am not sure. But the other thing is like, 25 million for Sargent or 25 million for McKennie versus like
13 for Diego Rossi and Cucho Hernandez.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Or like 7 for another Diego Rossi and then spend another 18 on some U22 players, right? To develop your depth. Because like none of that reporting mentioned a single U22 that they were talking to. And I know that U22s are not like guaranteed starters. They're not viewed as like immediate contributors, but like maybe Pavel Buka maybe it would be helpful to have like 10 minutes a game where Pavel Buka doesn't have to play.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe there's just one game where he doesn't play at all. And
then
you just like the kid gets some minutes. And do they look great? Maybe not. But you know what it does? It lets Pavel Buka look better down the stretch. Or maybe it pushes Obina Nwobodo to get, to figure out what's wrong with his game and do something different because there's a kid that's just as fast as he used to be clipping at his heels. The inability for 2 straight seasons now. And I think I want to preface this by saying I think Chris Albright and Pat Noonan are the right people for this job. I don't think their job should be on the hot seat. I don't dislike what they've done. I am just very curious now that we've fully transitioned out of the Jaap Stam and Gerard Nijkamp era. We have fully shed the contracts. We're not in this sort of situation where we're playing through problems. I still do not understand fundamentally why this team for 2 straight years has struggled to develop a bench and has struggled to bring people into the fold that can contribute meaningful minutes to give starters rests and allow for rotation. We see this all the time. We run into rotated lineups we're playing against all the time, and other cities and other teams seem to be able to get minutes out of guys on their bench and get contributing minutes, get people to score goals, get people to play well against us. We run the same group of cats out over and over and over again. And they're out of gas. They ran out of gas last year. They appear to have run out of gas again this year. And I don't know how many more times we're going to have to do the same thing before we finally decide it's crazy to keep repeating it.
And like a possible takeaway from that article over the summer is Albright got stars in his eyes about the kind of player that he could get with the budget available to him at FC Cincinnati versus the team would have been better off signing Jose Martinez and an Ura,
right?
Over striking out at the big names that they went for. Like, if you put Jose Martinez and Ura on this team, or put Bedoya in Ura, or put Gazdag or Baribo on this team, like, it makes all of those players make this team better in one way or another. And there's no indication that like any players of that profile were even considered. And even like last year, going after a home run talent like Bupenza, who is a home run talent. It didn't, he gave some really good minutes to the team. Yeah. But had they signed,
ultimately is why we're here right now, because they needed him this year,
had they signed like an Ura
or an Aaron Bupenza without problems,
or a Denny Bwanga in that window, we would have no problems. Like, we would not have had we would have had fewer problems this year.
Yeah. Chief, I do want to push back on one point about not having a bench, because this is the funny thing. I actually think we're very deep on defense. We obviously lose Miazga. That's a problem. If you look at how the contracts shake out for next year, we should have one of the deepest defenses in the league. But again, take out Miazga for a second. This team still is full of guys capable of contributing MLS minutes. Again, not every single player coming off the bench is going to win the Champions League for you. But
it's the one position you don't need. Like, we needed a deep bench for it last year because of suspensions.
Right.
We needed a deep bench because of injury.
Right.
The positions where people run and actually wear out, those are the ones we don't build a bench for.
This is what I'm getting to. Striker, we are too deep, I would argue. We got way too many of the same guy. We don't have the high-end talent. We don't have that nailed-on starter, can't leave him. Although I think all three of us would argue at this point that probably should be Kubo. But what we lack is midfield depth. We don't have a midfield bench. And I'd even say you have Dotto, who could theoretically spell Lucho in games that you don't need to win.
Right. It's
but they don't play him.
They don't play him. They don't play Malik Pinto.
I don't know why they don't play Pinto. I also
Pinto could lose 3-1 to Orlando.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at our notes. We've got the MLS Next Pro team is the 3rd seed in the East, is beating some
first
seed in the East. Excuse me. Very, very good in MLS Next Pro. I'm not saying that necessarily means they're all chock full of starters, but we're saying not one of them could make the bench. Not one of them could spot start. What are we doing? Yeah, what are we doing? Why do we even have an MLS Next Pro team? Like, what are we doing? If the goal is just to let these guys run, we have access to tracks. Like, we can just let them run around. Like, that's not a problem.
Speaking of FCC2, what do you think about the choose your own opponent format?
I love it.
Of the MLS Next Pro playoffs.
I would immediately. I would run to make that a part of MLS, because that is, we talk on the show all the time, creating narratives, creating compelling narratives. They should not only adopt this for MLS, they should televise the selections in prime time, and people should have to watch this. Or like people should have to sit there while someone else calls them out on stage. Like Pat Noonan should have to go to the microphone and say, this is the team we want right here.
Yeah.
That's good shit. They should have a crowd. They should fly supporters in for this. This was electric.
This is your draft moment. This is your NFL draft moment.
This is Selection Sunday. This is cool as shit.
It's really funny. Like last year, Sporting Kansas City 2's manager Benny Failhaber,
scared money don't make money.
Scared money don't make money,
and picked the number 1 seed,
or picked a top team, and they lost in the first round.
So good,
very funny.
It's the old Matt Hasselbeck. We want the ball and we're going to score.
Yeah,
immediately throws a pick six.
I guess I'd
pick Montreal if we had a pick, but I assume Miami would pick them.
Yeah, because the picks will go in order. Oh, would like Columbus pick us?
Maybe. Like honestly, like I'd pick us.
Yeah.
Or I don't know exactly how it'd shake out, but like if you're us, you feel like, hey, pick Columbus. Like if we're gonna go out, let's give ourselves a chance.
So Miami would presumably pick Montreal or DC.
Right.
Columbus would pick
the other one.
Well, Red Bulls or Charlotte.
This is some Iron Chef shit. Like, who am I challenging right here?
It's so good.
Yeah.
I tried to implement this in my fantasy league, and they didn't go for it.
No, that's
people
thought
it was unfair.
You're allergic to bad content then at that point. Win more games, then you get a chance to pick who you're playing. How about that?
Scared money don't make money.
Scared money don't make money. I love that.
It's so funny.
Hey, what a hell of a job from old Tyrone Marshall. This was a guy that was in charge for 9 games during the tail end of the Dutch era of this team, implemented a 4-4-2 diamond that we just immediately abandoned. And last year had been at the helm of one of the worst 2 teams in the league, if not the worst one. Pretty damn close.
Well, the previous 2 years, right?
Well, yeah, previous 2 years. Yeah. And then
he must have been really impressive in that like little audition for Albright before they hired Noonan for the coaching staff.
Well,
because you got to feel like that's a no-win situation where you're the interim manager when the new guy is around. Like you're probably using that like 9 games to get your apartment packed up, polish the resume up, like start shaking down your contacts, see if anybody's going to be possibly hiring somebody the next year. And then all of a sudden you end up with a full-time gig because you impressed. Well, I don't know what he did because the team was unwatchable, but apparently something was good.
Hey, I think we can go ahead and give credit to him for discovering Brandon Vasquez. Vasquez looked good during that 9-game stretch.
That's when he started playing, wasn't it? That was when he first started getting his minutes.
And he scored like 3 or 4 goals. And that became the narrative of, well, if you combine the end of his last year into this year, he's scored, 12 goals in 8 games or something. Yeah, it was fun.
So there was, this is funny because there was a article in The Athletic today.
Yes.
That said, inside the French coaching course that could propel U.S. soccer into a new stratosphere. And it was about this Institut National du Football de Clairefontaine, which is, according to The Athletic, French football's renowned training center, which is something
it's been around since the 80s, but
right.
I'm glad we just discovered it.
Right, but it's something that MLS has been sending coaches to for a couple of years. They said that Nancy, Luchi Gonzalez, Nico Estevez, and Greg Vanney also all graduated from there. Apparently, they sent Tyrone Marshall to this thing.
Hell yeah.
It's funny because he's in 2 pictures in the article. He's in like the banner photo and he's in a later photo. And he's not mentioned or quoted a single time. But also in the second photo, they spell Cincinnati wrong.
Oh, as is tradition.
They do the 1 N, 1 N, 2 T's, kind of the classic situation. Yeah. So yeah, but apparently this coaching school has been very helpful to Tyrone Marshall.
I mean, if he was there this past winter and this is what he's done, we should get everybody over there. I want Nick Haglund over there.
I want Pat Newton going there.
Well, obviously, I'm just saying. I want some of our older players going there.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how annoyed would you be if Tyrone Marshall leaves FC Cincinnati for an MLS club and immediately turns into another Wilfred Nancy?
Oh, I'd be so annoyed.
Eastern Conference or Western Conference?
It's annoying enough that Johan Damay is an assistant with Nancy.
Yeah, but that's always just funny. Every time he pops up, I laugh.
Can we start a consulting firm just to get Wilfred Nancy another job?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Can we launch a Patreon tier that's enough to send us all to Europe and just talk up Wilfred Nancy for an entire offseason over there?
I think
This is why Carl should have bought Bordeaux and then made him a Godfather offer to just send him back to Bordeaux.
Get him away. Hey, Hoffenheim, I've got a guy for you now in this partnership. Boy, you gave us access to your data. I got one for you.
Yeah. Red Bull, I saw, is buying or is made an offer to buy Paris FC, which is in Ligue 2.
Wow. Yeah. Paris FC is I don't know. They're like the best second division team. They always get promoted and go right back down and then just dominate.
Is that where Bob Bradley coached?
No, he was at Le Havre. I'm going to pronounce it like an American.
Paris FC. It's the New York Mets of Paris.
Well, there's also Red Star Paris, which is like the leftist club.
Red Star Paris is what I was thinking of.
They're sort of the anti-PSG. Fun fact about PSG, founded 1975. So,
yeah.
They're doing a great job of pretending like they've been here forever.
Yeah.
This team is a bummer.
Well,
you know what? Speaking of French, though, let me put this out there right now to the universe.
Okay.
I am not here for Paul Pogba rumors. Okay.
Ugh.
I don't want them. I don't want to talk about them. I've seen them online. I am done. I'm done. I'm spent. I have nothing left. I have no fucks left to give after this summer for chasing more superstars. I don't want it. I hope desperately that the lesson that the coaching staff and the front office have learned from this year is I don't care about winning the press conference. I want to win the trophy. This team was built on getting players that fit the system, that don't necessarily have a household name to them. Go get good players.
Yeah.
Get good players.
I have no faith that Paul Pogba would persevere through anything here, that he would work very hard to do anything here. He would have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
Playing here. If he came to MLS, he would be a luxury player anywhere. Right. So you need other superstars around him to kind of maximize his abilities. And I just don't see that happening. It'd be a waste. I don't think we'd ever be in for him, to be honest. But
no. I would hope not. The only team he's ever truly looked good on, he's had certainly flashes throughout his club career, fine in Italy, right? Like very good in Italy. But the only team he truly looked like a world-class player was on the French national team, which is like cheating when it comes to soccer.
Well, yeah,
team
it's
is
like
too good.
where he consistently looked the best.
Right. It's like, yeah, when France's C team would probably win the World Cup at any given moment. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if having Ian Murphy behind him is really going to make up the deficiencies in his game. Yeah, we should probably touch on this. There's no easy way to transition into this, but it needs to be mentioned. FC Cincinnati player currently on loan to LDU Quito, Marco Angulo, this week involved in what sounds like a horrific traffic collision. I believe there was at least one fatality in that collision. Marco, they don't have HIPAA in Ecuador, I'll tell you that much. That is, we are getting updates basically hour by hour via Twitter, via his doctor a lot of times. But it functionally sounds like he arrived to the hospital brain dead. And
that's not a medical diagnosis, to be clear.
There was a medical term thrown out there that he was like
he had brain. Yeah. Like I mean, we're taking Spanish and we're translating it.
Sure.
But there was something involving his brain that was looked at, and he was, according to the reporting of the doctor, he went into surgery on his head and then was in a medically induced coma.
Yeah.
There was talk today that maybe they were starting the process of bringing him out of the medically induced coma. It's awful. It's awful. Yeah. It's terrible. God, I hope that, he's able to, come out of it in any way,
Yeah.
Just
it's
nothing you can do except prayers, thoughts, whatever it is that you believe in, to send good wishes to someone. It's a horrendous situation. And, I don't want to speculate. None of us want to speculate on this. Frankly, it feels a little ghoulish, the amount of information that is out there on it. And it's kind of jarring, like you said, like no HIPAA there, just the idea that this is up to the minute reporting. I think the doctor gave a press conference.
There's multiple video press conferences of the surgeon at the hospital talking about, the care that he's getting. Obviously it's all in Spanish. So there's various avenues to translate that, whether it's through people reporting it, through AI videos, if you trust those resources. I mean, like, we are I don't know. I'm not sharing any of it on social media because my philosophy is that, as much as like I am interested in following what might be out there, I think it's fair to wait for the family or the team or somebody more official to share like actual updates and news about it.
Yeah.
And just, thoughts are with his family, thoughts are with his teammates down in South America, thoughts are with his teammates here in FC Cincinnati, because, he spent the better part of a year with this team last year. He knows people here. There are people that got close to him during that time period. And you never want to see someone that you care and you love go through something like this. And just the only hope that I think we all share is that he makes as much of a recovery as possible and pulls through this. And sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is wild to think that largely his time with FC Cincinnati will have been bookended by 2 horrific motor vehicle incidents like this. It's just, I can't imagine what their family's going through. So,
prayers up.
Yeah, not a fun one to talk about on a goofy ass soccer podcast. So, but bared mentioning, I feel like at some point just to acknowledge that it's happening and that we're wishing him all the best there. In the meantime, gentlemen, is there anything else we need to touch on with this team, or should we go straight to Patreon questions?
I think Patreon questions.
Let's do it. Let's get a little tone shift in here, huh? Oh, and before we get to the next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts. They have been with us from the beginning. They were one of the very first supporters of FC Cincinnati. They were our very first sponsor here at the Post. We absolutely love them. They have the best gear for all of your Cincinnati sports, Cincinnati memorabilia. You got a fun community that you're a part of. They probably have a relevant Cincy shirt for you on their website or in one of their 3 locations. They're in Oakley Hyde Park, they're in Loveland, and they're over in Fort Mitchell in Kentucky. Really, really good people. They will print on demand in their shop. If they have a design on their website that they are not, if they don't have stock in their store, they will print on demand for you. They are awesome. One thing that I promise you they will never have stock of, but absolutely do sell, are the Post shirts. They have shirts from us. We have made designs that are up on the website. You can find a link to them in the description of this episode. Go check them out in person, and if you tell them which design you want printed on a shirt right then and there, they'll do it for you. It's great, and I know it's great because I've been able to do it myself. Really good folks. And hey, while you're there picking up Post merch or Bengals merch or anything else, you drop this code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, get 10% off your next order. Again, the promo code is ThePostCincy. 10% off your next order for anything from Cincy Shirts. It's an awesome, awesome deal. Click the link in the description below as well for links to our merch. Otherwise, a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, listener, for using that code. All right, we are back. And like I said, little different here. We've got some questions from the Patreon. The Patreon. Wow. In case you were wondering, I'm so glad you asked. That is where you can support us financially. You can give us just a couple of bucks a month, and it helps us keep the lights on. But more, it's like to pay for Adobe editing software for me and the Zoom license and things like that. You know,
but if you don't want to give us money, come to Street Side on October 19th.
Yes.
Because we don't get anything out of it. We just do work for it.
Yes.
And so, you know, if you don't like us, that's where to be.
That's a good place to be. I'm getting very excited for the live show. I'm trying not to get too hyped with Chief here because Chief is 50-50 on being able to attend. Maybe it's not even 50-50. Maybe I'm being optimistic here.
Just the way life is for your boy right now. Everything's 50-50. Vote early, vote often.
I think it'll be fun. But with your financial contribution, you get to ask us a question. You also get a fun color on the Discord. You also can join the Discord for free, by the way. A lot of people put a Discord behind a paywall. Not us. Again, we don't monetize this to its fullest extent. So come join the Discord, hang out. And if you give us a couple bucks, you get your name in highlighter pink. So that's exciting. And you get to ask a question, one question a month. Don't get greedy. So we got a couple of questions here. We got one from Shuai. Shuai, you would have just heard if you listened to the music on the break there in Jim Trace and the Makers. Shuai asks, or says, I should say, howdy, folks. What's one regional cuisine, non-local, that you think would be improved by the addition of Cincinnati chili?
Juicy Lucy.
A Juicy Lucy's a great one. That is the Minnesota cheeseburger that has
with the cheese on the inside.
The cheese.
Put some cheese and Cincinnati chili on the inside of the burger.
So I also went with like a burger option. They sell these out in I'm gonna forget the town in Colorado. Not Boulder, not Denver. It's called the Slopper. I remember this because I used to service colleges out there. There, basically, what it is a cheeseburger, an open-faced cheeseburger with enchilada sauce, just poured on top of it. Just replace that with Cincinnati chili, or even just add Cincinnati chili. I feel like it would be a good option.
I have my answer.
Okay,
this just came to me. Pierogies.
So, Chief,
you can get that,
Chief. I went to find regional cuisines that I thought would be good. I did a little bit of research while I was waiting for you guys to join. It's called a runza. Okay. This is, imagine a pierogi as a sandwich. These are big and like.
This is incredible. Where can I go to get this right now?
So they're like in Nebraska.
Oh, fuck.
It's a variation on a German dish, which was a variation on a pierogi. So it has the same sort of lineage there. But they fill it with barbecue, fried onions, and like peppers and stuff. Looks awesome.
At the old vodka bar, you could get Cincinnati chili pierogies.
Oh.
Well, you can't anymore. So.
Can't anymore.
That's what Chief wants. I also thought this one, we really have to expand our horizons and what we're considering regional cuisine in the U.S. We're going to go over a sea, and Puerto Rico mofongo with Cincinnati chili. I think
mofongo with Cincinnati chili would be good. What
about like a croque madame or a croque monsieur with Cincinnati style chili on it?
Yeah,
I'd enjoy that.
Kentucky hot brown. Can you add Cincinnati chili to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cincinnati chili and pimento cheese for down in like the South.
Get a plate lunch in Hawaii with Cincinnati chili.
Skyline dip is a hot dish, I think, already for Minnesota, so I think you're good there.
Boston cream pie.
You want to know something insane that I've learned recently?
Got it.
Please.
On a Cuban sandwich, Cincinnati chili.
Ooh.
Like an actual, like, a Tampa style Cuban. Add Cincinnati style chili. That would be delightful.
Oh, remember Tampa?
How dare you, sir?
That's a bad joke.
How dare you? How dare you to my ancestral homeland? This is entirely my fault, by the way, because I was in a group chat with some people and we were talking about Hurricane Helene or Helen or however they're pronouncing it.
Helena.
And I said, whatever. Is that, Tampa really never has to worry about this sort of thing just because of where it sits geographically. It's just very hard for it to be hit by a hurricane. And not less than 24 hours, the spaghetti models started telling a really nasty story.
Whew.
Prayers up, Tampa. Love you. Go Bucks.
In terms of regional cuisine, Cincinnati chili gets a lot of shit. Sure, visually, it's maybe not the most immediate appeasing.
It's phenomenal.
But there in New England, it is a common thing to do a slice of apple pie with a slice of American cheese on top. This is a very normal thing that you can order. I don't know how this is the East Coast elites looking down.
You know what? Actually, you know what the winner is
Please.
Go to the UP.
Okay.
Get a pasty. Put Cincinnati chili on it. There you go.
Done. Sold. Scram.
Easy. I'm gonna try making my own mofongo this weekend, though. I think that's my winner. Okay. Hey, Shwai, great question. Love the question.
I think the conclusion was that basically Cincinnati chili would go on anything.
Anything.
Like, in Wisconsin, it's all just wursts.
Yeah, right.
Put some chili on it.
You can add it to literally any cheeseburger or sandwich. Like,
get a garbage plate in Rochester.
Oh yeah, poutine, obviously.
Poutine, obviously. I'm trying to think if you could do something that would be like a Skyline chili, like gumbo, where you added some like shrimp and some sausage on the inside of it, maybe a little bit of rice.
Or if you just added the Cincy seasoning to
no, I'm just saying like Cincinnati style chili, rice, andouille sausage, shrimp. I'm in.
Okay.
A little bit of cheese on top.
Speaking of, did you guys see the Dewey's Skyline pizza?
Fine, whatever.
It's stolen valor from the Newport Pizza Company, for being honest. It's
more, but yes, maybe too much. Okay. Question from Damon Gumbert. I've heard of him. Asks, does Pete Rose's death finally get that curse off the back of Cincinnati, or do we need to do an exorcism? In fairness, he asked this before our last episode, but how do we
address
this?
We have
to do an exorcism or some type of ritual.
An anti-baptism, I think, is what we settled on.
Anti-baptism.
We need a purging for sure.
We need to raise him with the Ouija board and then condemn him once he's here.
We need to raise him.
Next question.
Chief, are you calling for the desecration of a man's grave site, assuming he is buried in and around Cincinnati?
Not openly.
Not non-satirically. There's your answer, David. Titus Plank asks, I think this is a very interesting question. What would it take for you to give up on the FC like I have and some others in the city have given up on the Reds? I don't watch them anymore. I deleted the MLB app, etc. What would it take for you to renounce your fandom?
Renounce entirely? See, I don't believe people ever really renounce their fandom. When you say, and this is no offense to Titus, who is a lovely member for being a Patreon and being one of the 12.
Yeah, careful.
But I would be willing to bet that anyone that says they've renounced their Reds fandom or their Bengals fandom is a win streak away from kind of dipping their toe back in. Like if you found out that Ellie De La Cruz had hit home runs in 10 consecutive games and had stolen 20 bases and the Reds were in first place, you're telling me you wouldn't at least be like, well, maybe I'll go up to the bar and see if the game's on.
Right.
You never lose that, I think. I think in order to lose that, you either have to move away from the city or you just have to disassociate with sports entirely. Yeah. I don't think anyone can do that. I've gone through phases with every team that I care about where, you know what, it's just not a priority for me to follow them. And then as soon as they win a game or two or like something exciting happens, I'm back in. I just, when I think about like what it would take for the FC to lose me completely, it would probably be they'd have to move out of town or
taking Saudi investment fund money,
but even that,
something that.
Even that, it's like, okay, then I'm out until the ownership changes, or I'm out until whoever it is does something, or until they use the blood money to buy a really good team. I can be morally flexible if there's a winning streak.
Look,
involved.
If we're selling out, we better be winning.
I didn't sell out. I bought in, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick. I guess I'm gonna stick the speculation or the hypotheticals to like competitive considerations and not like moral considerations, because
we already stuck with the team when they evicted a 99-year-old woman from an apartment building.
Yeah,
there was a fair money offer anyway.
And like, look, we stuck through the team through 3 years of last place finishes. We stuck through with the team through the summer transfer window 2024.
Both equally as bad. I think everybody agrees.
Yeah. we made our bones on back in Miazga walking into the ref room. And that's the thing is it's like
release the tape.
I guess it's why you get so frustrated with like I I don't want to say broken promises. Let's say when like the reality doesn't meet necessarily the expectations.
Right.
Because like, for better or worse, like I'm like fully in.
I'm sorry.
And like, I'm going to complain about all types of stuff, but like I've clearly demonstrated they can charge me whatever they want. Like they can do whatever they want to me.
I paid to be on a wait list to buy tickets.
I'm gonna use a quote right here from a recent Business Courier article about how our friend Jeff Birding
I was gonna say, please quote our Lord and Savior,
views their entitlement to parts of the city. This is from Birding. We want to go very high and light it up because we're not bound by the restrictions that are in this historic district across the street.
Unburdened by what has come before, perhaps, is what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, open to what can be or whatever. Focus on what can be, unburdened by what has been. And with no care to like how many lights are shining on the music hall. Like,
just thought the stadium was annoying. Just get a load of this shit.
When you think about it a certain way, they're just spotlights. And what could be possibly more music hall than spotlights?
Yeah.
Great call. Coconut tree themed skyscraper.
What would it take for you to be out?
Basically, we've given them the city. like he's gonna get his stupid arena.
Yeah,
they're gonna build a whole bunch of shit in the West End. It's gonna shine a massive light over the Rhine. And all I'm asking is not to hear about sustainability during transfer windows, and for them to actually like do things to capitalize on opportunities to win championships. That's all I'm asking. And if they don't deliver that, I'm still going to support the team, and still going to let them have whatever they want.
What is the most important building in Cincinnati you would be willing to let them knock down if it guaranteed a championship?
Union Terminal.
The Xavier University campus.
How dare! First off,
absolutely, Xavier University campus.
As you morons from UC want to point out, that's in Norwood, sir, so it doesn't count.
City Hall. City Hall.
City Hall is an easy one.
Yeah, they can knock down City Hall.
Jail.
Balls in your court. Abolish prisons.
I'm going to Tyler Davidson Fountain. Fuck me up, fam.
For every MLS Cup they win, they get to abolish one prison.
Chiefs making a bargain with the devil right now. One Carew Tower, please. Just
it's already basically gone.
They take the observation deck. It might as well not exist.
What about one of the hospitals? You willing to knock one of them down to win a title?
What's the wait?
Deaconess?
We lost one in Clifton. Yeah, Deaconess. I think largely doesn't exist anymore. See ya, Deaconess. That's a good question. I don't think we answered it. I think we basically said
what would
it is literally
take for
impossible.
You, Kevin?
What? I like. It's a cop out, but like
not winning
scandal.
MLS Cup this year,
right? I'm fucking
not winning
out.
one playoff game this year. You have to win one, or we're all out.
That's some high stakes on game 2 potentially.
Here's the thing: if you win a playoff game this year, we will consider ending the podcast.
Grayson just wants out by any means necessary.
How's that about an incentive?
Wait, are we going to say, though, if they win MLS Cup, we quit the podcast?
Yes.
Got to go out on top, I guess.
Yeah, I'll make that bet. We start after the Spoon Years and we end at an MLS Cup. That feels perfect.
Yeah.
Unless a sponsor comes in with a big cash offer.
Yeah, I think
we'll just change the name. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It becomes
It's like
Cincy
delete this.
the Cincy boast cast. We're just going to brag about winning a title the rest of the time.
I like the idea. It's like an inverse bankruptcy where we'll just declare the original company bankrupt.
We're going to do
and
a
just start
reverse
back up.
triangle merger. We're going to become
Right.
we're going to become a Dublin, Ireland incorporated podcast.
Top of the morning to FCC fans everywhere.
We have always been a Dundalk podcast.
Top
That
of the
is
postcast to you.
top of the post. Oh God! All right, last question for today.
Thank God.
Brock Bermel asks, "This is a fun one. There's one correct answer though. What's the best month for sports?"
Ooh. Just sports. Like, we're not taking into consideration weather or anything else that's going on.
I mean, I'll let you incorporate it, but it should be through a sports lens. So if that factors in like your enjoyment of attending a game, so like December and January can be pretty chock full of some cool events, but like
February, because you
Super
can
Bowl?
basically ski wherever you want.
wait. There you go. That's
March?
an answer.
You got start of the soccer season. March Madness is objectively the best sporting event in the world. And you still got the NBA and the NHL seasons winding down into the playoffs.
I'll tell you, I can tell you what months are not the best for sports.
Okay. This is
September.
July, August, September, October.
Whoa. See, my answer is October.
Well, I've lived through these months and they were terrible.
They were terrible.
Sorry, excuse me. Now I understand the bit, because genuinely those are the correct answers until you get to October. October, though, you got college football, NFL, playoff baseball. We've got MLS. Playoffs will probably be going on at some point during October. October's also, well, yeah, October's prime like sports equinox territory where you get all of the men's professional leagues playing on the same day. That's always fun.
Hard to go wrong with January. I know there's no soccer, but you got college bowls. Although that's kind of been ruined by the playoff now.
You can
NFL
ski in
playoffs.
January a lot of places too.
January also gives you Daytona 500 usually, or maybe that's in early February.
December in a year they're playing the World Cup in Qatar.
That's always fun.
Can you ski in December, Jason?
Yeah, it's a little iffy because it depends on like how the early season snow has been in certain places.
You got to go a little further north than you want.
Last year in Steamboat, it was pretty icy one day, but then we had like a nice day of like powder. That was good.
Oh, nice.
Oh, beautiful.
There you go, Brock. Hopefully that answered your question. The answer is October, though.
Yeah.
And there you go.
We said you get to ask a question. We didn't say you get to answer.
You don't get to. We're not promising you're going to like
promising
the answer.
We will read the question and we'll talk.
Look, it's politics season, and as anyone knows, you always advise the candidate. You don't answer the question. You answer what you want the question to be.
People, as Maya Angelou said, people don't remember what you told them. People remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, so hang on, Chief. Let me try that again. Brock Bermel asks, "What's the best month for sports?" Brock, that's a great question. I think sports is very important for our country. In fact, sports is really it's important to our country because it's a local issue, and that's why FC Cincinnati needed to have a better summer transfer window, because it is impacting millions of Cincinnatians who are just trying to enjoy this season. And I would agree with you, Brock. Chris Albright should be fired. There you go. That's my politician answer.
Brock, it's a great question. There are a lot of months in the year. There's 12 of them, in fact. But I don't want to talk about months because every month is different every place you go. You know, my month in October could be different than your month in Florida, or my October here in Ohio could be different than your October down in Texas. It's what makes this country a great place to live, is that it is 50 independent laboratories of democracy, all doing months and doing sports their own way. So to really say that there is one month that is better than another month is false. except in one instance, and that's in San Diego. All month suck in San Diego. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.